10 and 10.
Good evening, everyone. Please be seated. We're going to begin with item 1, Thought for the Day. I'm going to ask my chaplain, Reverend O'Kane, to go forward with prayers. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. At the moment, Christians all over the world are joining together for a week of prayer for Christian unity. One of the many things I and we as a church at St. Paul's have been praying for is for those Christians around the world who cannot openly express their faith, who worship in secret, and who are punished or persecuted if they're discovered. It's with these people in mind this week that it doesn't pass me by what a privileged position it is to be able to share with you as someone of faith from a faith community. So thank you so much for that. Our prayers for Christian unity are targeted on matters and situations closer to home. Working together across denominations as we try to put our theological and doctrinal differences aside to share the gospel, to tell people that they have intrinsic value just because they are who they are, that they are to be loved and to love because they're made by a God who loves them. And of course, unity is hard work and it requires discussion, mutual listening and compromise. It's not easy. And if it was, we probably wouldn't need a whole week of prayer for it in the Christian world. But my prayer for you in this week is that you would recognise each person in here, their want to serve and improve the borough of Gedling. That although there will undoubtedly be things that you disagree that other people say, that you would be united in working towards helping the people and places you serve be the best that they can be. I'd love just to pray for you before I finish. So, yeah, Lord God, of unity, of peace and love, I pray for each person in this room. I thank you for their service to the people and places of this borough. I pray for discernment of good conversation and of a will to serve people as best they can, recognizing each person's respect, individual personalities, and their value just to be who they are. So, yeah, I thank you, Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend O'Kane. Very much appreciated. We'll now move on to item 2, which is apologies. I'm going to ask the relevant members to confirm if we have any apologies, please. Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Thank you. Please accept apologies from Councillor Michael Payne MP and also for Councillor Linda Pearson. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Apologies for lateness from Councillor Helen Greensmith, but she's on her way.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Apologies from Councillor Duncan, Mr Mayor.
And I know that Councillor Whiting may be running slightly late, so he has contacted us to let us know. And everyone else here seems to be present. All those apologies are noted. I'm now going to move on to the Mayor's announcements. As this is our first full council meeting since before Christmas, I just want to say a Happy New Year to you all. And on behalf of the council, I hope you will all join me in wishing our Freeman and Alderman, Peter Barnes, a very happy 90th birthday. All of us hope you had a wonderful day, Peter, and thank you for your continued support and service to the borough. Thank you to the Lord Lieutenant Veronica Pickering, our local residents, civic guests and councillors who attended my civic carol service at the Church of the Good Shepherd, which helped to raise £637 for the Mayor's charities. And I want to say a special thank you to Sarah Benedict and Katie Wilson and her sons for helping with the refreshments afterwards for our guests and members of the public to enjoy. I'm grateful to Hannah Wilkinson and Councillor Linda Pearson for helping to sell lots of raffle tickets. And 200 mince pies were also freshly baked and delivered free of charge by Zara at Cakes by Zara Lou in Arnold. They were all snaffled up, and unfortunately none were left over for Santa, so I had to send him some apologies. In December, I was also pleased to join Burton Joyce Parish Council and the Member of Parliament Michael Payne for the opening of the new Burton Joyce Community Garden and Canopy. It's a wonderful addition to Burton Joyce community, and it creates a lovely space for people to enjoy in all weathers in the heart of the village. And it was clear to see the hard work and effort that's gone in by all those involved to bring this new addition to fruition. The Deputy Mayor and I covered many Christmas light switch-on events across the borough over the Christmas period. In fact, we did so many that I think I was doing them in my sleep. The Ferris wheel at Calverton was particularly memorable, but in general, I have to say that it is a testament to our amazing organisers in the community, parish councils and Gedling Borough Council staff who helped to make these events so successful for our communities and families. So well done to all. Finally, I want to mention Sherwood Forest Day, which takes place on the 20th of February each year. The day has become officially recognised in Nottinghamshire and further afield, and having met with Richard Townsley, also known as the Lord Sheriff of Nottingham, for fun, I have worked with local partners and the council to see new plaques installed denoting where the ancient Sherwood Forest once existed in our borough. I know a number of councillors and parish councils have also supported this educational and fun initiative in their own patches. We will be raising the Nottinghamshire flag on the 20th of February, and I'll be moving around the borough to officially install some of the plaques as part of celebrating our wonderful history and heritage in Nottingham and Nottinghamshire. Thank you very much. So we'll now move on to item 4 to approve the minutes of the meetings held on the 12th and the 26th of November 2025. Can I ask Councillor Clark to move and Councillor Hollingsworth to second, please?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll move those. For those who've got the papers, they're on page 7, so I'll move those.
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Any comments? Okay, all those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? They are carried. Thank you. Item 5, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Clark.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Item 14. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the next item. Item 6, petitions under Procedural Rule 7.8. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, we have received one petition from the public and the petitioner is in attendance to address Council this evening.
Thank you very much, and can I welcome all our guests this evening from the Calverton community and beyond. Can I ask Claire Walker to come to the lectern and address the council, please? I just want to remind you, you have 5 minutes to address the council. Council will then debate the petition, and you are welcome to stay here to hear what happens afterwards. Okay, Claire, you can go ahead.
I have a bit of imposter syndrome being the one standing here making this speech, because although I've lived in Calverton and made sporadic use of the leisure facilities for 34 years, it's only been the past 2 that I've been a frequent visitor. Some of the people here today have been regular users for almost 4 decades. It's them and the new me that I'm here to represent. I now swim 4 mornings a week before work, and 3 of those mornings I go to the gym beforehand. When time permits, I also attend the Saturday morning boot camp. If I had to commute to Arnold or Carlton, I would not have the time to go before work. I don't have a regular 9-to-5 job, so going after work for me is not an option. If we lose the facilities in Calverton, I'll have no choice but to return to my sedentary lifestyle. I'll become unfit and more overweight again. My health will return to the state it was in before I started attending. I will no longer see the wonderful friends I've made. We will not be able to counsel and help each other with life's struggles and enjoy the highs together. I will lose the happiness I've found doing what I do and being around the people that go there. Calverton Leisure Centre services both my physical and mental health. It is a lifeline. But that's just how it affects me. I'm one of many that will be losing out. I'm fortunate that I can drive and have access to a vehicle. Many of the other users either walk or cycle to the leisure centre for added exercise and fresh air, or because they cannot drive or do not have a car or access to one. They cannot be expected to catch several buses to get to Carlton. Even going to Arnold on the bus will turn into even going to Arnold on one bus will turn into a 1-hour session in the gym and a 2-hour excursion. But it isn't just the added time factor, there's the financial factor too, the added cost of bus fare. Okay, some people have a free bus pass, but they aren't valid at the time needed for early morning swimmers or gym goers. The people who do resort to driving to these more distant locations are also adding to the congestion, especially as these locations are all heading in the direction of Nottingham, not away from it. Youngsters are the other demographic with limited transport options. I used to ride there on my bike as a kid on a Saturday afternoon for an occasional swim or to friends' parties that were held there. My parents were happy to let me do that. Speaking to some of the current leisure centre users, they say that their kids did or still do the same thing. They're learning independence, life skills and healthy lifestyle choices. Would they achieve quite so much personal growth with being chauffeured around by their parents to neighbouring towns? While we're on the subject of the younger generation, how are kids supposed to learn to swim with no facilities? The village infant and primary schools will not simply be able to walk them in like they have been. They'll have to pay to bus them in or out to wherever, at added cost to the parents or schools. The babies that I see with their mums being introduced to the water from a young age will miss out. Their parents won't have the time between the school and nursery drop-offs for other children to squeeze in driving elsewhere for a splash session. The parents of these children miss out too, as it's a good opportunity for them to meet up. Since discovering the plans Gedling Borough Council have put forward regarding the facilities at Calverton, I've spoken to many of the users that are here today to get their opinions. They tell me that they like Calverton because it feels cosy and less intimidating than other options. They like the family-run feel of the magnificent staff. Being greeted by name every time you walk through the door is a beautiful thing, and it really took me by surprise when I started going. It made me feel really valued as a member. They tell me that they like the size of the pool because they aren't confident with or can't manage the large pools elsewhere, and the temperature's more to their liking. It's good for learning to swim, less threatening than a vast expanse of pool you can barely see the end of. It's not just Calverton residents that use the village. Amongst other places, people come from Woodborough, Carlton, Ravenshead to enjoy what we currently have on offer. I'm really struggling to comprehend why, when Calverton is having more and more houses built and thrust upon us, why we're reducing the level of services. Are you planning to close a few shops and get rid of the doctors? I doubt it. So why is it acceptable to consider removing our leisure services? Arnold and Carlton are built up. There's very little space in those areas to build massive new housing estates like is happening in Calverton. But yet the hopes are to give them an increased provision while decreasing what we have in a village that's getting bigger by the day. It's not logical, it's not fair. We need investment, not divestment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. The petition is accepted, and the requested action in the petition is as follows. The petition is submitted with a request that the Council reconsiders its plans as part of the Leisure Transformation Programme impacting Calverton Leisure Centre. The signatories to the petition call on Gedling Borough Council to 1. Remove Calverton Leisure Centre from the Leisure Transformation Strategy. 2. Not to issue notice on the joint use agreement for Calverton Leisure Centre. 3. Continue to directly manage Calverton Leisure Centre. Do any members wish to speak on this item, please? Councillor Henry Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Firstly, I'd like to begin by thanking the petitioner and organiser and all those who have signed the petition for engaging with the council on this important issue. The strength of feeling around Calverton Leisure Centre is clear, and that concern is both understood and respected. Facilities like this play an important role in supporting physical health, mental well-being and community life, and it is right that residents raise their views directly with this council. This petition relates to the Leisure Transformation Programme and specifically the recent consultation on the future of the council's joint use leisure centres, including Calverton. I want to make it absolutely clear at the outset that no decision has been made about withdrawing the joint use agreement at Calverton, Redhill or Cont Forum. What Cabinet did on the 25th of September was approve a lawful and necessary public consultation on the future of all joint use sites to ensure that any ultimate decision is informed by evidence, community feedback and equality considerations. By way of background, the leisure strategy is the Council's long-term, borough-wide framework for planning leisure provision. It has been developed using independent data, condition surveys, participation analysis and demographic modelling, and in line with National Sport England guidance on sustainable public leisure provision, its purpose is to assess how facilities are performing, where investment is needed, and how the council can meet health and wellbeing needs in a way that is financially sustainable. Members will be aware that the updated leisure strategy sets out a difficult but very honest position. The council's leisure portfolio is not financially sustainable in its current form. Leisure centres require over 1.3 million in annual subsidy. Joint use centres are also allocated on school sites not owned by the Borough Council, which significantly limits our ability to invest, modernise or plan for the long term under existing arrangements. In September, Cabinet agreed that in light of these pressures, consultation should be undertaken on whether the Council should continue to directly operate leisure services from joint use sites, and if not, what alternative models could reduce financial risk while seeking to protect community access to valued facilities. That consultation ran for 6 weeks, from the 6th of November to the 18th of December, and more than 900 responses were received. Those responses are now being analysed alongside equality impact assessments. I want to reassure petitioners and residents that this consultation was deliberately carried out at a formative stage so that community views can shape the options brought forward. It is specifically designed to understand what facilities matter most to residents, what the potential impacts of change would be, and what safeguards or alternative communities would expect if the council's operational role were to change. Decisions about the future operation of leisure centres sit with the executive. However, this debate is a valuable part of the democratic process. The issues raised by the petition and the views expressed by members this evening will help inform the recommendations that come forward to Cabinet, which is currently scheduled to consider the future of joint use sites in March. I want to conclude by emphasising 3 key points. First, the Council recognises the importance of Calverton Leisure Centre and the role it plays in supporting local health, wellbeing and community life. Second, no final decisions have been taken and none will be taken without full consideration of consultation feedback, financial evidence and equality impacts. And third, the Council's objective is not to withdraw support for leisure and wellbeing, but to ensure that provision across the borough is modern, accessible and financially sustainable for long-term and future generations. I would like to propose that the Council's debate on this petition and the action set out in the petition be referred to Cabinet for consideration as the appropriate decision-making body. Finally, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to staff who went out of their way to try and keep the swimming pool open recently due to a closure as a result of the boiler which is operated in the school breaking down and due to oil not being available at the time. I'd like to apologise also to the service users who use that site for that closure. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for your proposal, Councillor Wheeler? Yeah.
I'll second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Allen? Councillor Jane Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I want to thank all the local community for bringing this petition to the council tonight. What a fantastic team of residents in Calverton and the surrounding area. I know my fellow ward councillors, Councillor Elliott and Councillor Meads, are fully behind this petition and the campaign to keep the leisure centre open. It is a fantastic leisure centre, a community hub, and it provides health, social and economic benefits to Calverton. It promotes physical activity, which prevents long-term health conditions, which reduces the burden on the NHS. The centre is vital for all ages and backgrounds, not just to exercise, but to socialise, build relationships and tackle social isolation and loneliness. For young people, it's swimming lessons. A lot of young people are in the gym, and the lack of this provision could then increase antisocial behaviour. As you all know, I attend there every week, at least 5 times a week, and know the staff really well. And Councillor Wheeler is correct, the staff are brilliant there and always try and help and do their best to keep it running. It's a lifeline to Calverton, and closing it would lead to poorer outcomes, would increase isolation, and we need this facility to support our Calverton residents. More and more houses are being built in Calverton, and the two main focal points in Calverton are the leisure centre and St Wilfrid Square. We can't do anything about St Wilfrid Square, I know that, and it is a terrible square and scruffy and dirty, but the other fantastic thing is the leisure centre, and we can do something about that. Closing, I feel it would be a total travesty if it's shut. I was elected to support the residents in Calverton, and that's what I'm doing. And I would like to move the recommendation that Calverton Leisure Centre is taken out of the Leisure Transformation Plan at the earliest opportunity. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Allen, there's already a recommendation that's proposed and seconded. Are you proposing an amendment to that recommendation?
Yes. What's the amendment?
What's the amendment, please?
Because the current recommendation is to defer to Cabinet. That's not an amendment.
That's not an amendment.
That's contrary to the...
I'll just take some advice.
Discussed at the moment.
So the recommendation at the moment that's been proposed and seconded is to defer the issue to Cabinet. That's what we need to debate first.
What she's suggesting is not an amendment.
And what you're suggesting is not actually an amendment to that, so
Different thing altogether.
it's completely different to what's been put forward, Councillor Allen. Okay.
If this is debated first, she could then put... Yeah.
Councillor Meads, before Councillor Allen spoke, you did indicate, did you want to speak now or?
Yeah, no, it's his turn.
Yeah, Councillor Meads.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Thanks everybody for coming tonight and all the people that signed the petition. The leisure centre is a special place for me and my family. I learnt to swim with them in the 70s with Maureen H, who was a bit of a legend in not just in Calverton but Cotton Forum as well, I think. I did all my badges there. Then 5 of my kids have learnt to swim there. My youngest son stayed on and he's eventually got into the swimming club and he's currently the fastest 15-year-old in the county, just from Calverton Leisure Centre. So members in this chamber might have got the impression over the years that shutting Calverton Leisure Centre is inevitable or it's even necessary or vital to shut it. But a lot of things have changed since last time it was under threat. And I think if the members and the Cabinet took time to look into the details, they would find it should stay open. So I just want to go through a few of the points first. The main point is the subsidy. Every time I've met the Chief Executive over the last 3 years, he's always reminded me it's £300,000 a year and we can't afford it anymore, blah, blah, blah. But I met with Councillor Wheeler and the officers at the end of last year, and they told me it was not 300,000, it was 160,000. But that wasn't actually a subsidy. That is a contribution from the income that pays towards the IT, the finance staff, the leisure staff across the whole borough. So what that means is if Calverton Leisure Centre shut tomorrow, there wouldn't be a £160,000 saving. That's not true. That's just a myth. There would be no saving. In fact, there's council staff worried how the income would be made up if Calverton Leisure Centre shut. So that's the first one. We don't own the site. Councillor Wheeler said that tonight. We don't own the site. Yeah, that's true. But if the Cabinet decided to pull out in March, once the 2 years up, that would only take it to 5 days before the new authority takes over, when the site would all be under one authority. So what's the point of issuing a 2-year notice when 5 days after that it's irrelevant, completely irrelevant? The school and the county council don't put any investment in. That's the usual one. The boiler breaks down all the time, etc., etc. The school's had a brand new boiler in. There was an issue a few weeks ago, nothing actually to do with the boiler itself. It was the old fuel gauge that broke, and they ran out of fuel without knowing they were going to run out of fuel, and dragged it through the filters and stuff. The school's replaced all that. They've got the full 10,000 litres of oil. The pool's up and running again. That's that. In the agenda pack, it said there was a condition report in 2017, and there's £44,000 worth of repairs. I don't like the fact that that's even in the report, because that would make you think that there's been £44,000 worth of repairs overdue for 9 years now. It's not the case at all. The repairs were done years ago. When I met with Councillor Wheeler, he told me, and Lance, that they don't know of any repairs that need doing at that leisure centre. They don't know anything coming up. Everything's done. They've got all new lighting, new flooring. The plant for the pool is in tip-top condition. They've got no expectation of any costs coming up. So £44,000 should never have been in the agenda pack. Demand for classes and sessions is in decline. That was another old one. Not true at all. Swimming and fitness lessons like the one that Jane's does, they're all oversubscribed. There's waiting lists. She tried to get on one last week, a fitness class. There were 17 people on the waiting list in case anybody pulled out of that session. It's crazy. I've been there today. People trying to book swimming. They can't do it. They can't get in. If Calverton's shut, these people couldn't be accommodated at the other 2 leisure centres. So that's another myth. And we talk about swimming. There's 3 of the 4 schools in Calverton. The kids can walk to the pool without going anywhere near a main road. And that is why swimming is big in Calverton. It was the 2026 County Championships on Saturday for the whole county. In the boys, 16 and 17-year-olds, there was 2 boys from Calverton in the finals out of 8, and one came first. Even though he's only 15, he still won the 16 to 17 category. In the girls, there was 3 from Calverton out of 8. The swimmers at Calverton do the best out of the other 2 leisure centres. In the Leisure Centre League, they've got maximum points every round in the last 2 years.
Councillor Mead, sorry to interrupt, but the 5 minutes are up now.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's gone quickly. So if you could just quickly sum up.
Okay, I just want to sum up. There will be no benefit to this council and the residents of the whole borough by shutting Calverton Leisure Centre. No benefit whatsoever. It will just make things worse for everybody. And I urge the Cabinet to look into the details. I'm happy to go through it with them and come to the right conclusion to leave Calverton Leisure Centre open. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Meads. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I mean, I just want to start off with a bit of a geographical point, really, because it was quite interesting listening to what Councillor Allen said. And I was thinking about how near the nearest leisure centre is, and I started to think about, well, there's one at Bingham, there's one at Southall, there's one at Carlton, and there's one at Arnold. And there's not anything else that I can think of within that geographical area that sits right smack in the middle and arguably provides a lot of leisure centre access to some of the more rural areas of that part. So if you're thinking about sort of Loudham and into Epperstone and Gonalston and all around there, so you've still got to go all the way to Southall or to Bingham to get there as well. So not only are you dealing with Calverton residents, and as has been pointed out, the size of that population is ever growing as a result of the increase in house building that is going on there. The demand for those facilities surely is only going to go one way, and I think the point around Jane and her ever-growing queues that she has to get in order to join the latest exciting club down at Calverton says it all as to why it should continue. It's already been mentioned, but I used to go there as a kid and do swim and gym parties. I remember them very, very well indeed. They were one of my favourites. You know, and it's something that's been throughout my life. And I lived in Woodthorpe when I grew up, so I was some significant place away, but it was quite a unique place where you could go for a kids' party and you got all of those things: swim, gym, and trampoline as well. And in fact, my son has just been to a party there only last year. Again, and went through exactly the same experience I did in what is a good location to do it. I think, if anything, it needs investment and it needs to be bigger. If anything, it needs more capacity. If anything, it needs a new strategy to help give this borough an additional income stream that it could utilise. Because for me, it seems like we're removing what is a well-used, fantastically located leisure centre, potentially. I realise, as has been said, no decisions have been made at this stage, but potentially removing that ability for that site located right smack where it's needed. We talk in this council often. There's been a lot made across the cabinet about how we need to improve air quality across the borough, and surely increasing car miles and things like that as well across it, and meaning that people have to get in their cars more often to get to leisure locations is not going to help that mission. So for me, it's a very simple thing, really. It should absolutely remain open. In fact, we should be hunting high and low for as much money as we can possibly find, whether it's behind the sofa in the Mayor's parlour or if it's the government, in order to facilitate the growth of this specifically. So yeah, let's keep it open and let's ensure that Calverton gets the provision that it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. You can see how well used and respected Calverton Leisure Centre is by the attendance here this evening, and how passionate people have spoken. Totally agree with my fellow ward councillors. Calverton Leisure Centre has been there as long as I was, well, I'm not that old now, but when my parents used to let me out by myself, I used to walk from Ravenshead to Calverton so we could have a swim. So it just shows you the draw it's got and the money it makes for this council. Calverton Leisure Centre is there for all ages. All ages. So it's very important that the young people in our surrounding villages learn how to swim. It's important that the older people in the villages get to meet someone and then go for a swim, can't they? They can socialise, they can do what they like there. What I'd like to know is how many, for the health and well-being of our residents, how many people have visited the local doctor's surgery and actually been advised to use the leisure centre as part of their recuperation, whatever they've been diagnosed with or whatever. I know my father, for a fact, has been advised that swimming is very healthy, very, very good activity for him to go and do. Now, if you take that away from him, what's that going to cost? It's the relationship with local sports clubs. They pay the leisure centre, don't they? They hire it out. It's the only floodlit area in the village, centralised. You've got the football clubs, you've got the rugby clubs. They all come and utilise those facilities. So not only that, using the leisure centre, it's a knock-on effect for the local businesses where they go on afterwards. So it's detrimental to the whole community. But the most important thing is that swimming pool, you're teaching the local kids how to swim. It doesn't matter how good they are at swimming, whether they're going to competitions or whatever, and how well attended those lessons are. If you teach one person to swim and it saves a life, yeah, that's what this borough is doing, and that's what Calverton Leisure Centre does for Calverton and the surrounding villages. So I fully support this petition, and I welcome you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And like everybody else, I'd like to start by thanking the petitioners for triggering tonight's debate and express my full support for them. As has already been said by those that represent rural areas, Councillor Allen, Councillor Elliott and Councillor Adams already, that it's so important that this council tries to deviate away from its Arnold and Colton-centric views a little bit and support the rural areas, because they contribute a lot to this council as well, probably more council tax than the urban areas as well. So I do think it's really important that as a council we are committed to supporting the rural areas, and this leisure strategy seems to be an attack on the rural areas, and I don't think that's fair. Residents that Councillor Adams and I represent in Burton Joyce, Stoke Bardolph and Gedling enjoy the Calverton Leisure Centre facilities, and as we've heard tonight from the lead petitioner who spoke fantastically well, is that the centre offers great community engagement. It's not just somewhere you go for a swim or to work out. It brings the community together. It's the heart of the community, and we've heard tonight, despite how many times I vote against it or Councillor Elliott and Councillor Allen vote against it, we've heard tonight how much housing is being pumped into Calverton, again to neglect the rural areas, and by the council pumping houses into there, they should be increasing the leisure facilities and increasing the facilities for the community, not reducing them. And I think this is a great shame and a great step towards doing exactly that. What I want the Cabinet to do when they go away, having listened to the views of councillors and more importantly the community tonight, is look at paragraph 2.3 that's in the report in front of us tonight, that mentions exploring the options of community ownership for this leisure facility. I don't think it's been looked into enough, and we've heard from the other representative from Calverton, and in fact in the Cabinet's response earlier, that it costs the council £1 million to run leisure facilities, and 160 to 300,000 of that goes to Calverton. Well, it's only going to cost 44 grand to do it up to make it efficient, so cut your losses. You'll save money if you just give 44 grand to whomever may come forward and say, because they might be put off, people in the community or other organisations might be put off from running it because of the cost to upgrade it. Well, as a council, let's just give them 44 grand and say, here's 44 grand, we'll keep the 260 odd other thousand that you contribute every year and put that into our savings, if that's the reason why you're doing it. Do it up for them, and then the community groups or other organisations might be more attracted to come and take it on. I really think that needs further exploration. I really think you need to think again as a council and a cabinet and look after the rural areas, and I really think we should listen to the people and do exactly what this petition says and keep it open forevermore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to start by thanking the petitioners for bringing this forward and for your excellent presentation. Now,
Councillor Hughes, is your microphone on?
It is on.
Thank you.
It's on, yes. Sorry, I was pointing that way. Living in Carlton, I can't say I've ever visited Calverton Leisure Centre, but from what's been said tonight, I can see how vital it is to the local community and how much they care about it. So I hope that it can be kept open as a valued and much used community facility, and that Cabinet will consider all the points that have been made tonight, both by the petitioner and by the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Maltby.
Good evening. Again, I'd like to thank the petitioners for bringing this forward to Council tonight. I've heard a lot about the costs, but I've not heard really anything about any savings being mentioned. Physical activity facilitated by leisure centres result in an estimated saving of £5.2 billion a year to the NHS and £1.7 billion in social care annually. Specifically, swimming initiatives save the health system £357 million a year in this country. These are critical for managing long-term health conditions, reducing obesity and boosting mental health. They reduce social isolation, they improve mental health, and with depression reduction being the largest estimated health cost saving of £51.4 million in the country, this needs to be going in the opposite way. We don't need to be getting rid of leisure centres, we need to be increasing them. People, particularly from lower socio-economic groups, are twice as likely to be inactive, and they depend heavily on the affordable subsidised leisure provisions in this country. These are community hubs, lifelines and safe spaces for children, and I fully support the petitioner's requests.
Are there any other speakers from members? No? Okay, so we had a recommendation put forward by Councillor Wheeler, and that was seconded by, was it Councillor Mead? Councillor Hollingsworth. I just want to address the point that was made to Councillor Allen. Because the council can't make the decision put forward by Councillor Allen, because it's not a decision for the council but a decision for the cabinet/executive, so the proposal put forward would not be valid. But I appreciate what you're trying to put forward, but we can't accept that. So we'll vote on the proposal by Councillor Wheeler. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? So that's unanimous. Thank you, members. Now going to move on with council business. If the public wish to stay, you're welcome, but if you would like to leave, we'll give a short opportunity now for you to do so.
It will be red. That means you can be heard. Okay?
Okay. So we move to item 7, questions asked by the public under procedural rule 7.7. Mike.
Mr. Mayor, we have received one question from a member of the public who is in attendance to ask their question this evening.
Can Mr Robert Andrews please come to the lectern to ask the question? Thank you.
My question is, I'm a member of the Richard Herod Bowl Centre, and I'm deeply concerned. I must say, these people before us, they were brilliant. The young lass who sat here, I wish I could speak like she speaks, but I can't.
Mr Andrews, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just need to read the question that you've put forward to the council.
I've got 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I was saying we can't hear him because of the noise.
Okay.
We can't hear you because of the noise. No, with questions, you don't have 5 minutes. You just have to read out your question and then you'll get a response. Thank you.
So again, I'm a member of the Bowl Centre. Why are they replacing the National Indoor Bowl Centre with yet another leisure centre, and which not cater for the elderly? And I mean, elderly as in 85, 92 years old. We've got plenty of. And leisure centres do not cater for that. That's my simple question.
Thank you, Councillor Andrews. Sorry, Mr Andrews. I've just promoted you.
You can do it.
Can Councillor Wheeler answer the question, please?
Thank you, Mr Andrews. Thank you for the question. For clarity, this question relates to the future of leisure provision in the Colton area and the exploratory work currently underway as part of the Colton Active proposals. The work on Colton Active is currently at a feasibility stage and design stage only. I want to be clear that no decision has yet been taken on whether the programme will move forward into pre-construction. No decision has been made on the timing or implications for the existing Richard Herod Centre. Any progression would be subject to Cabinet approval, affordability and further detailed assessment. Cabinet is currently expected to consider the full business case on the 19th of February. The Colton Active proposals are not about replacing a specialist facility with a generic leisure centre, nor about excluding older people. The aim is to explore whether a modern, accessible leisure, health and wellbeing centre could better meet current and future needs, building on what the Council is already doing well. This includes assisted exercise provision, rehabilitation and falls prevention activity, warm water swimming, dementia-friendly sessions and flexible community and social spaces. The proposed facility mix also includes an Enerva wellbeing suite designed to support people with long-term health conditions, reduced mobility or recovery needs. These elements are intended to build on current successful provision and expand the range of support available. It is also important to recognise the wider context. Both the Richard Herod Centre and the Carlton Forum Leisure Centre are ageing assets with increasing life cycle maintenance costs, energy inefficiencies and asset risk. Continuing to invest in multiple older buildings is not financially sustainable in the long term and diverts resources away from frontline services. The Colton Active proposals therefore seek to explore whether bringing provision together on a single site could reduce ongoing revenue pressures, address asset risk, provide a more resilient and future-proof model of provision for residents. The Council recognises that these matters are sensitive and important to residents. Engagement with users, clubs and stakeholders will continue throughout the programme and no decisions will be taken without further consideration through the Council's formal governance processes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will now move on to the next item. Thank you very much. Item 8, questions asked by members under procedural rule 7.9, and what a shocker, we've received no member questions. So I'll move on to the next item. Item 9, reports and recommendations from the executive or a committee, procedural rule 7.10. There is one report to note for this item, 9A, the overview and scrutiny annual report. The recommendation is on page 61. Councillor Catherine Pope to move and Councillor Brocklebank to second, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very pleased to present the report for overview and scrutiny for 24-25. Members will see the wide range of work the committee undertakes in the report. In the period, this included a working group reviewing recent funding bids made by the Council The group identified several recommendations to minimise the risk of devoting time and money on unsuccessful bids, particularly where the chances of success are suboptimum, noting that the opportunities were not often within a level playing field. They also identified some areas of good practice and learning to be shared between departments. With the election of a new government, the group was put on hold until future funding frameworks were clarified, but to date the approach has not required local authorities to compete against each other for funding. Looking forwards, the committee has identified a need to revise the way we scrutinise portfolio holders. A template is in development which will request information in advance of the meetings with a more analytical rather than descriptive approach. This should enable committee members to prepare their questions in advance as well, and so provide more scrutiny within the meeting time. We are also reviewing the work of overview and scrutiny in neighbouring councils in advance of LGR to identify any gaps or opportunities to better align in advance of whichever new council we find ourselves in. Finally, we have also commenced a working group reviewing waste management and fly tipping within the borough. I'd like to thank my fellow committee members for their engagement in the work of the committee, our officers for their support and patience, and all the partners, officers and cabinet members who have attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pope. Councillor Brocklebank to second.
Thank you. I'll just second because Councillor Pope has done such a wonderful job presenting. I'll just second. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's actually quite interesting to note just how little work the Overview and Scrutiny Committee seems to have undertaken. Just the one working group in the last 12 months. Now, when I was last on scrutiny a good few years ago, and indeed briefly chaired a scrutiny committee, we regularly had 4, 5, 6 working groups in a year, which all completed, and some of them were quite wide-ranging. So it is interesting to see just how little modern-day scrutiny committees actually undertake.
Thank you. Councillor Meads.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is talking about the Oversight and Scrutiny Committee, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. I mean, I had to stand in for Russell for one of them, and it shocked me how it was sort of like a selling exercise from the portfolio holders, and all the staff were told how wonderful they were, and every department was fantastic, and then there was no real scrutiny. And I just don't think it's working properly. But if there's going to be some changes, yeah, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Councillor Martin Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for Councillor Pope for your presentation. As a former member of this committee, I do know about the valuable work that the committee undertakes and the scrutiny that it takes. But this group, yet again, is baffled, and I know our Liberal Democrat members have supported us on this. We still are baffled why this committee has a chair and a vice chair, both from the same Labour Party. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Smith, and just to say congratulations on your elevation to Deputy Leader of your group. I didn't mention it earlier, but I just wanted to pass them on.
Thank you. Very, very, very adept at picking up unpaid roles.
Yeah. Are there any other comments before I go back to Councillor Catherine Pope? No, Councillor Catherine Pope.
Nothing further to say, thank you.
Okay, all those in favour, please show. Anyone against? And any abstentions? One abstention. Thank you. That is carried. We'll move to item 10. The Council Tax Reduction Scheme 26 to 27. The recommendation is on page 67. Councillor Clark to move, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, there's a few words here to say about it. So, this report seeks approval from the Council to continue the current Council Tax Reduction Scheme without revision except for the annual uprating and amendments of allowances and premiums in line with housing benefit levels. This is for the next financial year of 26-27. Council tax legislation requires that the Council must decide each year whether its CTRS is to remain the same or to be revised for the following financial year. The decision in this instance must be made by the 11th of March 2026, but can be made before then. By way of a background to the scheme, localising council tax support was introduced as part of the welfare system reforms in 2012 by central government and replaced the council tax benefit scheme. The government set the scheme for all pensioners and continues to do so, however. Councils were free to implement their own scheme for claimants of working age. The council also agreed its first council tax reduction scheme in December 2012 for the 2013-2014 financial year, with only a few changes to the previous council tax benefit system, to ensure that claimants were largely protected and continued to receive the same level of support from the council. The aim of the Gedling scheme is to protect the most financially vulnerable households, and the scheme has not changed since 2013, apart from being uprated each year in line with most welfare changes. As part of a balanced approach, the Council must consider each year whether to amend the scheme, and report sets out a number of options that have been considered for changes in the scheme in the context of making financial savings for the Council. Appendix 1 to the report sets out these options, with the one providing largest savings is where everyone currently receiving full council tax reduction would pay 20% of their council tax liability, coupled with increasing the non-dependent deduction to £15 and introducing a minimum award of £5. This would generate a saving for Gedling in the region of £92,800. And this would impact on almost 3,600 low-income households. This means that a household in average Band A property in a non-parished area who currently has a zero council tax charge would have to pay around £340 a year. Other councils that have made similar changes to their scheme initially reported difficulties with collection, but the payment normalised after the first few years. The report concludes that introducing an amendment scheme would not be suitable for 26-27, particularly as local government reorganisation is on the horizon, which will require a consolidated scheme to be developed for each new unitary council. It is therefore recommended, Mr Mayor, to Council that the current CTRS continues unchanged for 26-27, which is in line with the assumptions made in the Council's medium-term financial plan. Thank you.
Councillor Hollingsworth to second.
Yes, second, and reserve the right to speak, Mr Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any members like to speak on this item? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to say the Conservative Group fully supports the council tax reduction scheme. Thank you.
Councillor Jane Allen.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I fully support this scheme. In my ward, there are lots of young people and families who are working hard, but are still struggling, and I've directed them to this scheme on many occasions, and I know it really helps them and really benefits them, and it is vital, and I fully support it. Thank you.
Any more speakers? Councillor Hollingsworth.
Thank you, and thank you for the support, Councillor Adams and Councillor Allen. I think we're one of the last councils now to actually have a scheme which is gives 100% council tax relief. And of course, council tax is a fixed bill. So unlike food or energy, it's not something people can reduce when prices rise. That makes it especially burdensome for households on the lowest incomes. Our scheme of council tax reduction ensures that people who genuinely cannot afford to pay are not pushed into arrears, debt or enforcement action, because even a weekly small charge can be unaffordable for people already choosing between heating, food and rent. Mr Mayor, partial schemes don't encourage payment, they penalise poverty. They lead to court summons, bailiff action and additional costs that fall not only on residents but also the council. So the scheme is not just compassionate, it is preventative. It keeps vulnerable residents stable, reduces costly enforcement processes and supports wider public health and wellbeing outcomes. Removing council tax liability for those least able to pay is a practical, fair and responsible response. It protects residents now and reduces greater costs later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Are there any more speakers? Okay, no. Councillor Clark to close then, please.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just particularly thank the Conservative group for their backing on this. I know it's probably in a lot of councils it was an easy one. Well, we'll knock that off, it'll help with the council tax, but I think in this has proven that you've got a really humane council here, thinking about people that are at the lower end of the scale, so I would move that. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll vote on the recommendations then. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's clearly carried. Thank you. Item 11, changes to committee membership. The recommendations are on page 79. Councillor Rachel Alice to move.
Yes, thank you. It's self-explanatory, so I formally move.
And Councillor Pope to second, please. Graham Pope, yeah.
Second, Chair.
Yeah. Would anyone like to speak on this? No. Councillor Rachel is to close then.
Thank you. I formally close.
All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? And any abstentions? Okay, that's clearly carried. Thank you. Item 12, appointment to outside bodies. The recommendation is on page 81. Councillor Clark to move, please.
Formally move, Mr Mayor.
And Councillor Hollingsworth to second, please.
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Would anyone like to speak on these changes? No? Okay, so we'll move to the recommendations. All those in favour, please show. Any against? Any abstentions? Again, that's clearly carried. Thank you very much. Item 13, review of polling districts, polling places and polling stations at Bestwood St Albans. The recommendations are on page 85. Councillor Clark to move, please.
Move the 4 recommendations, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hollingsworth to second.
Seconded, Mr Mayor.
Would anyone like to speak on this? Councillor Maltby.
Just to thank all the staff and the working group for the hard work they've done towards the new parish that's going to be becoming in Bestwood. And I know it's not been an easy task and it's been quite fraught, but the staff were excellent and really helped us out, so thank you.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to echo the thanks to all the staff in terms of conducting this review. I'd like to say that the recommendation is eminently sensible in the light of the meeting places which are available. And while it might be preferable to have separate polling places, in this circumstance, it seems sensible and practical to have the 2 polling places in one venue. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Clark to close, please.
Yes. Thanks, Mr Mayor. It is a thing at boundaries, polling stations, this, that and the other. The entire front bench will resign there. And for most people working for most councils, say, how the hell do you sort this lot out? But yeah, go with that one now. It's a good practice for 2 years down the line.
Thank you. So we'll vote on the recommendations. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? And any abstentions? That's clearly carried. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 14, the Independent Remuneration Panel report and recommendations for 2026-2027. The recommendations are on page 97. Councillor Hollingsworth to move, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to the Independent Remuneration Panel for their work and for the report. So this is the annual report that comes to Council to inform us of the latest review of the members' remuneration undertaken by the Independent Remuneration Panel. Officers assist the IRP to gather members' views on the remuneration scheme, then meet to review the members' feedback and all available data to establish if they want to recommend any changes to the scheme. Members will recall in January 2024, we agreed to uprate both special and basic allowances in line with the Chief Pay Award for the following 4 years, ending in 28-29. Therefore, Mr Mayor, the recommendations are as follows. That this Council thanks the Independent Remuneration Panel for its work and accepts in part Recommendation 1 of the Independent Remuneration Panel report, which aligns with the commitment made last year to increase basic allowance in line with Chief Officer Pay Award. And it agrees to continue to apply the Chief Officer Pay Award as a form of indexation to special responsibility allowances as agreed in previous years, and does not accept the Independent Remuneration Panel's recommendations number 2 and 3 as contained in this report, and agrees the scheduled allowances for 26-27 as attached at Appendix 2 to this report be uprated in accordance with the Chief Officer Pay Award as agreed, and to authorise the monitoring officer to make appropriate amendments to Section 29 of the Constitution to reflect any changes to the members' allowance scheme agreed. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Adams to second, please.
Yeah, second and reserve the right, Mayor, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak on this item? Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Once again, the Independent Remuneration Panel has met, and once again it recommended that the special responsibility allowances for business managers and policy advisors be removed from the scheme. And once again, it would seem that the majority group are putting them back in. And it's interesting that the panel also noted that no other Nottinghamshire district councils pay such special responsibility allowances and do not consider that payment of these allowances is warranted. This is becoming something of an annual ritual. Having an independent remuneration panel is mandated by central government with the expectation that councils adopt the panel's recommendations in full. Merely paying lip service to the panel's recommendations does not look good in the eyes of the public, who after all are paying for it through their council tax. The report also references budgetary pressures, which is surely a good reason in itself to cut back on non-essential allowances. I fail to understand why the majority group feels that these allowances need to be paid when no other local district council does so. What is it that makes Gedling different? Do we have more committees than other districts? Is our governance structure more complex? Does Gedling have additional needs or pressures that warrant the payment of allowances to policy advisors? Perhaps someone can explain. I'm sure that any members of the public watching online would expect an explanation. The Liberal Democrat group, as usual, will be voting against this amendment, and I call for a named vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want a couple of comments, and particularly some of the points that have just been made. It is mentioned that no other district has a funded business manager, but can I also note that many other district councils given a council's allowance which is far greater than the one given by Gedling Borough Council. This role of business manager is a vital one, not for political party purposes, but for the smooth running of this council. So very much like to retain it. I am, however, disappointed to see that one of the recommendations is to give an allowance of £352.44 to the leader of the independent group. This group consists of two Labour rejects, if we're putting it bluntly, who claim to act independently from others. So how, therefore...
Sorry, is it point point of personal explanation, Councillor Mead?
Yeah, he's just said we're both Labour rejects, but I've only ever stood as an independent, so...
Yeah, OK.
You know, just take a bit of offence at that. But
Councillor Smith, if we can just check our language, thank you.
OK, so they're acted as independents, so therefore, how can there be a group? Technically, Councillor Whiting can claim this, but morally, it would be wrong to do so.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Elwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Unsurprisingly, I will be agreeing with my colleague, Councillor Hughes, on this one. And as you say, it is becoming an annual event, I suppose. But I think our residents would be flabbergasted that we're spending this money on what, to my mind, is party politics on the rates. And I do find it amazing that the two large groups can't organise themselves without this payment. I'm sure I have great respect for all of the councillors in the other groups, and I'm fairly sure you could organise yourself without the payment of this. So we'd be opposed to that. The remuneration panel also suggested that the policy advisors remuneration should be taken away. So if those figures are taken out of the equation, we're looking at about £12,000 a year, which could be spent on frontline services. Maybe it could be used to repair play area equipment, or maybe pay for extra shifts for street cleansing, or maybe fund leisure facilities at Calverton that we were talking about earlier in the meeting. So I will be voting to remove these allowances from the scheme. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just find it quite strange, Councillor Smith's comments, really. Me and Russell spend a lot of time on the phone nearly every day in emails and everything, and he's begrudging him his 350 quid. His colleagues around him that got voted into the county council last year, as soon as they got in, they asked for a big pay rise, so it got turned down. So I can't believe he's actually bringing up £350 for somebody that probably puts as much hours in as anybody else here. So yeah, I'm just surprised. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Councillor Hughes, I understand you... Oh, Councillor Brocklebank.
Thank you. I have made a few notes in preparation because, like you say, it's a tradition now, so I made a few notes in advance because I hope that provide a bit of context to any members of the public at home around the role. So we talk about the business manager and policy advisor without ever really getting into what they do. So it's just to try and provide a bit of context that the business manager role is primarily about helping the council work more efficiently and effectively, provides a clear point of coordination within the different groups, reduces the need for officers to chase attendances, substitutions, engagement in council business, compliance with things like training and declarations of interest. So it helps to improve the running of the meetings, helps to ensure decisions are made first time and avoid delays and repeated work, all of which ends up actually saving the council time and money. Well, that's the intention. Supports good governance by keeping the political organisation within groups, protects the officer neutrality by not drawing officers into some of those decisions and assistance, and therefore reduces the risk to the council. The purpose of the role is to help the council operate more smoothly and deliver value for money. Otherwise, that role would end up falling on officers or other roles that could end up becoming more expensive. Same for the policy advisor. It plays a vital role in supporting the relevant cabinet member, particularly those with large and complex portfolios. Provides a focused member input and leadership, for example, on matters relating to the environmental services, such as the role we have at the moment. It helps the cabinet holder to manage their workload, develop policy thinking early, and ensure issues are properly worked through before they end up at cabinet. The intention of the role is it supports and improves the quality and timelessness of decisions and reduces the risk of delay, makes better use of officer time, Crucially, it allows the Cabinet portfolio to remain manageable without the cost or complexity of then appointing additional Cabinet members, which obviously would be significantly more expensive. So both of those roles help to deliver value for money for residents by saving officer time and reduce the likelihood of actually producing more roles that require a larger SRA that would end up being more expensive than the ones we have. Final point, I just encourage members of the public and other councillors to have a look at other councils across Nottinghamshire and the East Midlands, and you will see that Gedling remains one of the leanest structures when it comes to how many roles are actually encompassed the SRA and what the actual allowances are, which I know Councillor Smith has already touched on, that actually the roles that we have here are probably one of the lower ones across the region. So I do believe it does deliver value for money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brocklebank. Councillor David Ellis.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Perhaps I can help the Liberal Democrat group, and we need to be very wary of relying too much on benchmark data and looking at other authorities. Different authorities have different structures, different ways of organising themselves and different ways of presenting themselves. However, I'm fairly clear that of the 9 local authorities in Nottinghamshire, 5 have a post that is clearly identifiable as a business manager, which means 3 of the 7 district councils do. And I suspect that if you look closely at it, most of the others have business managers, but just not described as such. The role is, I'm sure the role is undertaken, and there's a special responsibility allowance to make the operation of the council run smoothly. It's not a party political role, it's to help the management of the authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers on this? No. Councillor Hughes, you proposed a named vote. Do you have a seconder? Councillor Elwood, thank you. So if you could carry out the...
Councillor Adams.
Sorry, I did ask if there was any more speakers. Councillor Adams, before we go to the vote.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I thought you'd just come back to me on auto. No dramas there, of course. Yes, just a few things. Councillor Brocklebank, if you've got access to that job description link, if you send it to me, that'd be fantastic. That'd really help our social media. Just in terms of Sam, I mean, I really don't want to say how good he is in public. I really don't, because it's not good for his ego, and we'll have to create a new wider door to get his head out. So instead, I'll just go as far to say he does work incredibly hard, and it's a lot of work to attempt to resolve issues with motions and questions, and not just that, but obviously help with organising the team amongst many other things that he does in this role. And therefore, I think it doesn't make any sense to lose that expertise within any of our groups to ensure that we can deliver the best services and also the best policy for the people of Gedling. Just in final terms, I don't recognise the comments from Councillor Meads. None of us here have been involved with requests for pay rises. As far as everything else, just to say, very happy to back it as written. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hollingsworth, would you like to close?
Yeah, I'll be brief, Mr Mayor, because I think these are arguments that have been rehearsed over many years and the same arguments come back. I have to say that I think Councillor Brocklebank did an amazing closing speech for me, so thank you very much for that. Business managers do perform an important role. They ensure the smooth running of the council, making sure that substitutes are available. And I can't remember who mentioned, but actually takes that obligation away from officers who are already busy. So I won't say any more, Mr Mayor. I think everything's been said, so we'll just close the debate.
Thank you very much. So we're going to move to a named vote on the recommendations that have been put forward. If you would like to go with the roll call then, Mike, thank you.
I will, thank you, Mr Mayor. So for this vote, when I call your name, please state either for, against or abstain. Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Pauline Allen.
For.
Councillor Roy Allen.
For.
Councillor Jane Allen.
For.
Madam Deputy Mayor.
For.
Councillor Bestwick.
For.
Councillor Brocklebank.
For.
Councillor Clark's not in the vote. Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor David Ellis.
For.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
For.
Councillor Roxanne Ellis.
For.
Councillor Elwood.
Against.
Councillor Feeney. Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Greensmith. Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hunt.
For.
Councillor Maltby. Councillor Ron McCrossan. Councillor Viv McCrossan. Councillor Meads. Councillor Nyuk.
For.
Councillor Paling.
For.
Councillor Pickering.
For.
Councillor Catherine Pope.
For.
Councillor Graham Pope. Councillor Scroggy.
For.
Councillor Martin Smith.
For.
Councillor Sam Smith. Councillor Strong.
For.
Right, time's up. Councillor Towsey Hinton. Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Whiting's not here, no. Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
Mr Mayor, that's carried. I've missed the most important person. Mr Mayor.
For.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank
Still
you.
carried, yeah.
Still
thank
carried. Thank you very much. Can someone go and get the leader back in, if possible, please? Item 15, comments under procedural rule 7.11. There are 13 sets of minutes on this agenda. If any member would like to ask a question or make a comment about any of the minutes, would you please indicate to the page number that you were speaking about. First minute is 8F. Any comments or questions? No. Minute G to M. Any comments or questions? Thank you. I'll move on to the next item. Just waiting for the leader to return. I think we'll make a start. There is one motion, and this is at the front of the agenda pack, item 16. Councillor Hunt to propose, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Good evening, Mr Mayor, councillors and members of the public. Since being elected in May 2023, there has scarcely been a month go by where I haven't been contacted by concerned residents regarding houses of multiple occupation, or HIMOs as I will call them from now on. Residents see genuinely affordable family homes, terraces and semis alike being gutted and their use changed to house individuals in separate rooms with some shared facilities. These former family homes have served the town of Netherfield for over 120 years. These homes are often on streets close to schools and are being lost to the community at an alarming rate. This is madness. Everyone is aware of the housing crisis, but why is this allowed, or should I say permitted, when all it does is shuffle the problem to another place?
The crux of the problem stems from the introduction of general permitted development rights in 2010. They trump usual planning rules, and the council is almost powerless to stop such developments. The planning world is not a simple one. Often people are baffled about what permitted developments are. Examples could be a 6 metre by 3 metre extension, or with prior approval, or a 50 square metre double dormer loft extension. They're also confused by the sheer scale of the works allowed under them, the lack of consultation, and the lack of a pathway to making valid objections. It is natural to be afraid of the unknown, and it can be difficult to accept change, especially when something comes into your life uninvited and is imposed without debate or recourse. It feels unfair and undemocratic. For the record, I am not against HMOs, and I'm acutely aware of the important function they serve. There is a huge shortage of safe and clean places to rent which don't break the bank. Not everyone can afford to rent a whole property or buy a home. Without HMOs, many of our residents might not have a home at all. For example, young people who've recently left care, people who've moved for work, students, couples who have split up, and those escaping abuse. There is a basic human right to shelter, an adequate, decent place to live with dignity, safety and peace, not just a roof but a sanctuary, essential for other rights such as mental and physical health. Since 2001, we've been hearing about community cohesion, the ability of communities to function and grow in harmony. The diverse community of Netherfield has proved to be remarkably resilient, despite having 3 of the 4 markers of low-level community cohesion identified by the National Policing Improvement Agency, these being major historic losses to its manufacturing base and railway industry, pockets of high levels of deprivation and population churn. But there is a limit and a tipping point. We are full up. Future developments need to be proportionate and assessed on their unique circumstances under the existing planning regime. What is of most concern to residents is when the balance and amenity of their environment is or is perceived to be put at risk or threatened by unchecked HIMO concentrations. The issues that come up most often are parking, fly tipping and antisocial behaviour. Other subjects raised include pollution from gridlock vehicles, surface water flooding, the ugly addition to our pretty town of overbearing dormers that look like sheds. Other concerns are noise nuisance, overshadowing and comings and goings. These are all things that would usually be considered under a normal planning application. Good general amenity and residential amenity contribute to the overall enjoyment of our environment and living conditions of the occupiers of residential properties, such as privacy, peace and quiet, daylight and sunlight. So, what can be done? The making of an Article 4 direction reinstates the requirement for planning permission, enabling councils to consider their impact. It allows residents to make representations and allows the introduction of specific guidance. For example, that HIMOs should not be next door to each other, or sandwich a house between them, or there be more than one in a 100-metre radius, and most importantly, require a licence. The application process is laborious and slow. Robust formal evidence of harm must be provided, for example, of antisocial behaviour and access issues, to name but 2. The lived reality does not necessarily reflect formally reported incidents about, for example, highways and flooding concerns. There's sometimes a malaise or disenfranchisement with authorities which can lead to underreporting. Currently, minimum space provisions for a one-person room in a HIMO, where there's adequate dining space elsewhere and cooking facilities are not provided in the room, is 6.52 square metres, or in old money, 8 foot 4.5 by 8 foot 4.5. A double is the measly amount of 10 foot 6 by 10 foot 6. And bear in mind, the floor space that a bed takes up needs to be taken out of that. Many people now work from home and require a desk and a computer station, which eats up even more floor space. These are minimum space figures for just one of a myriad of categories which I find bewildering. For example, what is the definition of cooking facilities? Would a microwave and an air fryer in a room count? I've seen kitchen sinks with a piece of worktop to the side referred to as tea stations It's bizarre. I wonder if it's safe for residents to plug in their own electrical appliances next to a sink in their bedroom in this scenario. Local authorities do have discretion to require higher space standards, and I would very much like to see this happen at Gedling. When residents contact us to make complaints or report during building works, they're astonished to find that unless we've been specifically appointed by the developer to act as their approved inspector, we have no power to inspect works and have no right of entry unless the building is unsafe. Residents have to find out who the approved inspector is and make contact themselves. This is yet another source of frustration, especially when they want to report potential unsafe practices. I've seen abuses of the planning process conflating occupants with a number of rooms. One permitted development at Hymo with 6 bedrooms in Netherfield was advertising 3 of the rooms as double occupancy. Do the maths. Short of parking up outside and counting people in and out, how are hard-pressed councils supposed to enforce planning breaches, ensure there isn't overcrowding and that fire prevention measures are in place? Again, councils have no automatic right of entry. Another example of sharp practice is where a developer applies for a change of use from Class 3 to Class 4. That's a family house of 6, family house to a 6-bed at Hymo, or a certificate of lawfulness, knowing full well that in reality the intention is for it to be a 7-bed, maybe an 8 or 9 occupant Hymo from the start. There are higher standards of fire protection and soundproofing when the landlord makes owner, beg your pardon, makes the change to house the 7th occupant. Often planning is applied for retrospectively after the building has been operating with 6 occupants. I wonder what the likelihood of those higher standards being implemented is at this later stage. Again, how do councils know if the 7th room is in use? I have a lot more, but it's late and I don't want to over-egg the pudding. The lack of regulation and the inability of councils to easily identify unsafe and illegal developments cannot continue. People deserve better. There are many hoops to jump through and much work to be done by officers to give this council the best chance of success in any future applications for Article 4 directions. It is a double-edged approach necessary in order to increase the chances of success. Further, a rescinding of the current legislation may provide a considerably speedier outcome and a halt to new developments. This is a human issue about people having safe, decent lives, homes, not a political football. Council has recognised the concerns of residents and, as always, aimed to serve people and improve lives. My thanks go to those before me who have raised this issue and to Cabinet, who have long been monitoring the situation and will be debating it again a week tomorrow. Final thanks go to Michael Payne MP for raising this issue in the House of Commons 5 days ago. We await the response from the Secretary of State for Housing regarding the ongoing review of Hymo regulations. Thank you for hearing me out. I commend this motion to Council and ask for your support.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Barnes to second, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I would like to second this. I would like to speak about HMOs. Yes, they do have a place in the market. They are needed. They do help students and even young people and people on lower incomes. It's about the planning system that governs them that's the issue. It has created many issues in our communities, especially Daybrook. Parking is one big issue. Not enough spaces are provided in the planning. And the developers and the companies who are doing these HMOs don't even consider neighbours anymore, I'm afraid. There's the waste problem, the bins, the noise problem, and if it's 6 or more different occupants, these people can have visitors with cars. In Daybrook it's a worry, as in Gedling, I'm sure, and Netherfield and many more wards, and it will get worse as time goes on. Planning must change by law, HMOs, I think. It needs proper consultation on what it means to the community around it. And I think the government should change the law to consider the impact it is having on local communities. Until a change is made nationally, I support the Council to use this Article 4. Used carefully, this can help protect many areas and wards that are at risk of an over-concentration of HMOs. They do need to be a part of the balanced planning project with consent and involvement of local people. That's very important. People have to live by them and alongside them. I'm thinking of the community you serve as a councillor too. I'm not happy at the overdevelopment of HMOs and the horrendous parking issues at the moment. They are causing a problem at present. And on vacation, the mess that they leave for the landlords to eventually clear up is a problem. And I fully support this, and I do second this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnes. Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. We have an amendment to the motion. Thank you.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Yes, can I move a short adjournment?
Are members happy with a 5-minute adjournment? Is there a seconder? Councillor Clark, did you second? Yeah. All those in favour of a 5-minute adjournment, please? Okay, thank you. Okay, members. Councillor Michael Adams to propose the amendment.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, propose it as written in front of you. And just really to say that this is something that I've campaigned for an incredibly long time on, since 2022, April 2022, when I first tabled a motion back here then for it to happen. I think what this amendment does here is it absolutely nails the action that's required and makes us get on with it. I feel like 4 years is enough discussion time. I think 4 years is enough time to review. I think we've done that, and I think now is the time to act. And so I think this change, this amendment puts that into a place where it can do that. And for all the reasons that have been mentioned already, the knock-on effects to residents. I mean, I've discussed before on planning applications way back around, you know, all right, there's 4 people in a house, but that's potentially 4 cars, 4 Amazon deliveries, 4 shopping deliveries, you know, 4 different visits, you know, from families, friends, and you add all that in capacity in terms of parking on streets, and a lot of these HMOs that we're talking about, specifically the ones that are in my mind, are the ones that are in Netherfield, which I know Alison, Councillor Hammond is in her mind about this, and this is where I'm sure her motivation for this change comes from. Is there's not that capacity to take those people in those streets, and in fact what then happens is you get a lot of people that live in those houses that are around them getting displaced, and these houses are fantastically designed to cater for families. That's what they were there for in the first place, and they do a very good job at it. But you know, if you add too many individuals to those properties, and you know, you can have families of you know, adults and children, if you like, within them, and that, you know, that caters fine. But when you add a high level of adults into those properties, the knock-on effects are vast, and as a result, it puts pressure on everything, and that's where I think we need to change that. And like I said before, I think I was glad to hear MP Michael Payne say that in the House of Commons the other day. I was glad to see that. I think it's important that it's raised again there. I also am glad to hear from Alison that she's fully backing this as well. That's really important, and I'm sure Councillor Clark also in that area, because again, like I say, you know, I've knocked on doors around there specifically looking for information around there, and in fact I was part of a survey with the former MP Tom Randall completed in that area, where 93% of the people that we knocked on showed that they supported greater controls of the system that is in place to monitor HMOs and in fact enact Article 4. So let's do that. Let's get on with it. Let's stop talking and let's see some action. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd just like to reassure Councillor Hunt. Sorry, Councillor Hunt. Councillor Hunt, that we are no way taking away from the wonderful work that she, as the Netherfield representative, has done tonight by bringing this to Council. I think the Conservatives first brought a motion similar to this in 2022, and as Councillor Adams has rightly said, it's now 4 years from there, and still the Article 4 that everybody knows is needed. We don't need a technical survey that we have to follow for the government to tell us that it is needed. Councillor Hunt said in the break that she can't go to Co-op in Netherfield without people asking her to bring this forward. So all we are doing with our amendment is taking out the consideration for Cabinet. We don't need a Cabinet meeting to discuss the issue to then consider whether to do the review for the data to then consider whether to enact it or not. What we need Cabinet to be told quite strongly from this chamber today on behalf of the residents that everybody represents is this council expects it to be enacted, trigger the consultation or the surveys that are needed as set out in recommendation 1, which is not amended at all, get the data and enact it. That's all it's saying. We don't need to have 2 or 3 meetings of very senior councillors and officers to discuss whether or not to go and get the data. What the council can do strongly today is say we're on the side of those people who filled out the survey in 2022 that Councillor Adams alluded to. We're on the side of the 90% of Netherfield residents that want to see Article 4 enacted. And we are on the side of the councillors Barnes and Hunt and everybody else who has this issue in their area, but more importantly we're on the side of residents in the borough who are trying to get on the housing market and can't because the most affordable housing is being turned into accommodation of 6 or more. It's absolutely out of control, and we don't need to go through meeting after meeting to discuss it. 4 years down the line nothing happened. What this amendment does is just say get on with it now, and I think we all agree with that, so let's just do it. Thank you very much.
Councillor Smith, are you formally seconding the amendment?
I am, yeah, and I'd like to speak on it as well rather than later.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I meant Councillor Sam Smith, but that's fine. So, Councillor Bestwick first, then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everybody's been speaking about all the different reasons why we need to have this done, so I'm not going to go over all those again. There's just a few points I'd like to make. One, I'd like to thank Councillor Hunt. I know that she's done an enormous amount of work over a number of years on this subject, and I thought her speech was excellent, and I thank her for that on behalf of everybody in the chamber. What we're seeking to do with this amendment is move things on, as my colleague Councillor Sam Smith said, so we can start work on this straight away, not let Cabinet talk about it and then come back to us and then talk about it again. Let's get on with it. The residents want us to get on with it. It does put more power in the hands of the planning committee, but we have excellent planning officers in this borough, and we also have an excellent, well-run planning committee chaired by Councillor Allen. We're all capable of taking this on and getting on with it straight away. So I hope that we can all have faith in each other and approve this amendment and give the residents what they want sooner rather than later. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the preamble to the resolution notes, houses in multiple occupation can be an important part of the housing mix, providing an affordable home for young people leaving home for the first time and for older single people, perhaps as a result of relationship breakdown. However, an over-concentration can clearly cause problems for neighbouring residents for all the reasons that Councillor Hunt outlined. And now, whilst there are obviously going to be many good quality HMOs providing a decent standard of accommodation, I'm sure we've all seen news footage of the sometimes dreadful conditions in some, with overcrowding, damp, lack of privacy, lack of personal security, fire safety, etc., etc. So not only do we need to control the numbers, but we need a robust regulatory and inspection regime, not just to ensure a decent minimum standard of accommodation, but also to spot other issues such as drugs, exploitation, even modern slavery. So the original motion had my wholehearted support, and I also wholeheartedly support the amendment. If for no other reason, it pushes it nearer the line to finish. And I hope that the government will listen to the representations that we've made to them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Meads.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's just about the amendment, really. I fully support Councillor Hunt and all her endeavours, even though we've not got a problem with this in Calverton. But it's about the amendment. It's worded as if the Cabinet can approve to remove permitted development rights instantly. I don't know about these things, but I thought you had to reach a threshold first and get approval from the Secretary of State. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's as easy as this. I don't know if anybody can enlighten me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just a point of clarification, please.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Just a point of clarification for the Chamber. That's exactly why Recommendation 1 has not changed, which says that Cabinet will continue to review the evidence. What the Recommendation 2 is saying is enact that should Recommendation 1 be met by the Cabinet.
I think there'll be more discussion as we go along, Councillor Meads. Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank Councillor Hunt for her excellent speech earlier on. I'd also like to acknowledge the clear passion and concern which is coming from all sides of this chamber. An Article 4 direction is subject to legal challenge, primarily through judicial review. Challenges can arise if the direction is poorly drafted or fails to justify the restrictions. So this means that when we bring it in, we have to make sure that it's robust and that we can produce the evidence to underpin it. For this reason, I believe that the original motion is the correct motion. And while I understand the motives that brought the amendment, I intend to vote down that amendment for those reasons, but I will be supporting the original motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Martin Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've heard lots of good things said about this from all sides of the chamber, and as Councillor Adams mentioned, this has been debated on previous occasions in this chamber, so I'm delighted that Councillor Hunt has brought it forward yet again. I'm also delighted to see that the Labour group have wanted to make a U-turn on something that this group has been pushing for quite a while. U-turns, of course, are very popular with the Labour government. I see that the left-leaning Resolution Foundation has estimated this government's U-turns has actually cost this UK economy £8.2 billion. However, this amendment will not cost this council anything. So I urge councillors to support it in full. Let's get on with it. Let's stop talking about it. Let's not put it off for another 4 years. Let's put it forward now, please.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers on the amendment, please? Councillor Jenny Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm totally bemused by what Councillor Smith has just said about a U-turn, because we've been showing our concern over HMOs since 2022. That's why Cabinet has been carrying out a series of reviews. It's very clear, Mr. Mayor, that we all want to get to the same place. Councillor Hunt very well articulated the issues, particularly in Netherfield, and they will apply to other areas where there's been a proliferation of HMOs. Unfortunately, this amendment goes no way to actually getting to the place that we want to be. In fact, it says the well-being of residents either across the whole borough or across the specific areas of the borough where the concentration of HMOs is highest. But they've removed the crucial bit, which is about providing the evidence. The Secretary of State has already issued 46 notices amending Article 4 directions because the evidence was not robust, or the Article 4 was applied to an area that was far too wide. So unless we provide that evidence, we don't stand a chance. I would rather, if and when we can introduce an Article 4 direction, that we actually backed it up with the evidence that meant it wasn't going to fail and let down our residents yet again. So I'm afraid we can't accept this amendment, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Hunt's motion, I think, sums up everything that this council wants to do.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from members on the amendment before I go to the proposer to close? Yeah. No? Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I must apologise, Alison. I had a proper brain freeze there where I kept calling you Councillor Hammond. I don't know what happened. I'm really sorry about that. I don't think we've even got a Councillor Hammond here, have we? Sorry. Anyway, Councillor Hunt. I do apologise, yes. So, moving on, I just wanted to go back to the point of the evidence concern from Councillor Hollingsworth and others. Just to refer you back to point 1, which does quite clearly say support Cabinet's continued review of evidence of the concentration of HMOs in the Borough of Gedling. So option 1 does actually state that the evidence will continue to be reviewed, and only the continuance of that review leads then to the second part of it, which is that says to enact an Article 4 direction off the back of that evidence that's mentioned in option 1 to protect the local amenity or the well-being of residents either across the whole borough or across specific areas of the borough when the concentration of HMOs is higher. And obviously option 3 is just to report back on that to full council on the actions that have been taken and outcomes that have been achieved. So I think you're right what you said at the start, which is we're all trying to get to the same place. And I think this does is get us to the same place a little quicker than the previous version. And I do feel, as much as we might say that, have we got enough evidence? We have been talking about this since 2022. And it's a really, really long time ago, 2022. For the mathematicians in the room, it's 2026. Which puts us around about 4 years since that situation first occurred and the first motion that I raised here. Now, I've done this before with something else, which I raised a very long time ago as well, if you remember, which was around ensuring that we do the right checks on councillors before they become councils. And that, again, was another one of those things we delayed for ages and ages and ages till eventually we got around to doing it. I just think we just need to get on with it. Come on. I mean, surely we're all wise enough in here, and there's a lot of experience in this room as far as Councillor Bestwick made a great point around the experience and the fantastic chairmanship as well of the planning committee as it's had now and has had in its history as well, that we can make these assessments well and informed on the basis of the knowledge that is here. I don't think we need to keep dancing to the tune of let's not do anything for a bit. I think we just need to get on with it. So look, I'd love the support. I think it'd be fantastic. But if that's not what you want to do and you want to carry on doing it the way, that's fine. That's your own decision. But I'd like to end it by saying we'd love a named vote, please, as well. Mayor, thank you.
Councillor Hunt, you get a right of reply on the amendment as a final speaker. Would you like to speak?
I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you. There was a proposer for a name vote. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sam Smith seconded. Okay. Mike, this is on the amendment, this vote is. So, Mike, would you like to... don't cross me out this time.
I wouldn't dare do that again, Mr. Mayor. So, for this vote, when I call your name, please state either for, against or abstain. Councillor Adams.
For the amendment.
Sorry, yes, this is voting for the amendment. So for, thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Pauline Allen. Against. Councillor Roy Allen.
Against.
Councillor Jane Allen. Deputy Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Bestwick.
For.
Councillor Brocklebank.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Creamer.
Against.
Councillor Elliott.
Against.
Does it make us bad?
We're playing golf. Against was that? Sorry, for was that, Councillor Elliott? For.
He's on medication. It's the medication.
Councillor David Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Roxanne Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Elwood.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
Against.
Councillor Fox.
Against.
Councillor Greensmith.
For.
Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Hughes. Councillor Hunt.
Against.
Councillor Maltby. Councillor Ron McCrossan. Councillor Viv McCrossan. Councillor Meads. Councillor Nyuk.
Against.
Councillor Paling.
Against.
Got me nervous now, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Pickering.
For.
Councillor Catherine Pope.
Against.
Councillor Graham Pope. Mr Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Scroggy.
Against.
Councillor Martin Smith.
For.
Councillor Sam Smith.
For.
Councillor Strong.
Against.
Councillor Towsey Hinton.
For.
Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Wilkinson.
Against.
Mr Mayor, that vote is against or lost.
So the amendment has fallen and we go back to the original motion, which I'll now open up to debate. Councillor Jim Creamer.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's important, going back to the last debate a little bit, about actually gathering the evidence. Because if it's solely on area, Carlton Hill would probably not be classed as one. But we have them on Curzon Avenue, which is direct, actually equivalent to Netherfield. So I think it's extremely important to get the evidence in, because if it's on a street level, stroke road level, then we can look at it even more closely. Curzon Avenue, for instance, for those who don't know, is a short dead-end road. It's exactly equivalent to any of the Netherfield 2 up, 2 downs, and it's a dead end. So you've got the equivalent, you've got to have extra cars down there. One of the houses definitely been turning into 7, so that's an extra 4 or 5 cars or whatever, going on a dead-end road where they have to turn around in the road to start with. So things like that need to be in the evidence to be gathered. So I don't want it just on an area basis. I'd like to make sure that the small areas that do suffer are actually mentioned. So I'll be supporting this and hoping the evidence is gathered quickly and those sort of issues are put into the evidence. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Hollingsworth, I apologise.
I do.
Thank you.
I will start again. Mr Mayor, I completely share the frustration of Gedling residents, all elected members. Permitted development rights for smaller HMOs, remove the need for planning permission. That means that councils and communities can't assess the impacts on a case-by-case basis. Residents lose the ability to comment or object, and that fuels mistrust in the planning system. Mr Mayor, the Council recognises that HMOs provide valuable accommodation in the borough, but control and balance are crucial in maintaining trust and community cohesion. Even small HMOs have the potential to cause problems when clustered, with a gradual erosion of balanced neighbourhoods and a loss of affordable family homes. In 2023, the Leader and Deputy wrote to the then Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, outlining the concerns of Council and Gedling residents. And last week, the MP for Gedling, Michael Payne, raised the same issue in Parliament. It is agreed that, like all forms of development, it is important to manage the distribution of HMOs within the borough. Ministers past and present have rightly said that councils have the planning powers through the introduction of an Article 4 direction to limit the proliferation of HMOs where there is sufficient evidence. Unfortunately, what they don't say is that the robust evidence bar is set extremely high, and an Article 4 direction must be proportionate and applied to the smallest geographical area. The Secretary of State can intervene to modify or cancel an Article 4 direction where he or she feels that this evidence is not sufficiently robust. Mr Mayor, this has led to a reactive complaints-based system instead of proactive planning, which our residents have every right to expect. The optimum solution, of course, would be for the Secretary of State or a minister or whoever has the power to rescind the permitted development rights of HMOs of between 3 and 6 occupants so that all HMOs must have planning consent. I support point 4 of the resolution asking the leader to write to the Secretary of State in the terms outlined, and I'm more than happy to put my name to that letter. Council is monitoring the impact of HMOs with reports to Cabinet in June and December of 2022 and a further report in September last year. All reports consider the impacts of HMOs in the Netherfield area. Mr. Mayor, those reports concluded that there was, at that time, insufficient evidence to introduce an Article 4 direction. Cabinet will consider a further report on the 29th of January, which will provide details of the number of HMOs within each ward across the borough and will provide an analysis of evidence in order to recommend whether the making of an Article 4 directive is necessary to protect the amenity and well-being of a particular area. Mr. Mayor, that report to Cabinet is now in the public domain, so tonight I can tell Council that Cabinet is asked to agree that there is sufficient evidence to demonstrate that an Article 4 direction is necessary to protect local amenity or the well-being of Chandler Street, Ashwell Street and Beach Avenue within Netherfield Ward, and approve the direction that will be referred back to Cabinet for confirmation 12 months after it is made. Should Cabinet agree, this recommendation process can begin. Obviously, close monitoring all of the wards will continue, and we will continue to lobby for the removal of the PDRs for the smaller HMOs. Mr. Mayor, I suspect this is a conversation that's being had and debate that's being had right across the country, and I think the more councils that contact the Secretary of State and lobby, and our MPs to lobby, the more likely we're to have success and get that PDR removed from the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollingsworth. Councillor Elwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I would first like to congratulate Councillor Hunt on her speech for this motion, which was well balanced and recognises that HMOs do have a role, but they do need to be controlled within the planning system. So yes, that was a very well-balanced speech. And to be honest, I think everything has been said now. I think Councillor Hollingsworth has virtually said what I was going to say. So I would just reiterate, just confirm what she said, that the Article 4 directive is a very blunt instrument, and I think the best approach that the government could take would be to remove the permitted development right for the small HMOs, and I think that would resolve a lot of the problems. Permitted development rights are useful in certain areas. It's freed up people to extend their houses and do small changes to their own property, but it does seem rather strange where you've got what is effectively a change of use that is being brought about via permitted development rights. That just feels a bit strange, and I haven't had much experience of dealing with HMO applications in my ward, but I did have one a few months back, and it did feel wrong that the residents that lived close by, next door to the HMO, just had no way of influencing or consulting on that. It just felt undemocratic, and it just felt wrong. So yes, let's hope that national government can revisit this and change the national legislation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Scroggy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's just to follow on from what Councillor Creamer was talking about in our council wards. They are starting to pop up. We've had some on Mayfield, Cornhill, Arthur Crescent. All the terrace streets off the side of Carlton Hill is starting to get HMOs, and the parking on there is already atrocious for residents. We need to get control of this quick.
Thank you, Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had on my notes the word quickly against the main motion, but then we just heard from Councillor Hollingsworth that it quickly is next week, I think, is it, or the week after next week, because the Cabinet papers have just come out, which, lo and behold, say that we've got the data to do it. So I don't understand how we now have the data to do it, but on the amendment, the argument was used incorrectly that we needed data. It's a bit bonkers, bit politics going on around here, and I think that's a shame, because actually the whole point is let's just give the people a voice. Article 4 has been alluded to by the Lib Dems, actually makes it fairer, because if the road you live on has quite a few of these HMOs, parking gets difficult outside your house, a lot of delivery vans, visitors, etc., etc., and they take away affordable housing from families in the borough who are looking to move out of the family home and get onto the housing ladder. And I think that's why it's important that Article 4 is in place to give the residents of this borough a voice on the change of use request. So just welcome the fact that the data now exists, and hopefully next week we can finally move forward after 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from members? Councillor Clark, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I also obviously pleased to see this, and thank Alison and also Sandra for bringing this to our attention. Hopefully this is going to help, because what I've seen there, I've been a long-standing member of this council and also for Netherfield and for Colleague, is that I've seen a destruction of the community. A destruction that should have been stopped some time ago. It started in 2010 through Grant Chaps altering something on it. There has been tremendous cross-party support. I know Tom tried when he was MP, and I know Michael's been trying, but it is somebody up there in the big house that just hasn't been listening. But they only have to walk around those streets and now see the devastation that some of this has caused. I'm not saying the people that are in there are nasty people that have come to live in there, but the congestion is unacceptable. So I'm pleased to say it's coming to Cabinet next week, and let's move it on and keep the pressure up wherever we have political power, whether it's in opposition or whether it's in the main parties. Then let's just keep at it to try and make life a little better. That community has suffered a lot in there, there's no doubt in it, and has damaged it, but it's not beyond repair. It's not beyond repair, so we need to work to it. So I look forward to next week's Cabinet meeting.
Are there any further comments from members? I'm going to speak as a Daybrook councillor, so not necessarily as the mayor, although the topic of HMOs does get raised with me on visits across the borough in my civic capacity. Councillor Barnes and I have increasingly seen a rise of HMOs in the Daybrook ward in recent years, and many of these have fallen under permitted development rights, which means local residents often have little or no opportunity to have their say through consultation. And that's particularly frustrating because when there is a planning process, the concerns raised are usually very reasonable and consistent, as has already been mentioned: parking pressures, waste disposal, loss of family homes, etc. And of course, I have to say that HMOs have a place in our housing mix, and some are managed exceptionally well. We also have some excellent and responsible landlords in the borough. But the real concern for residents is not their existence per se, it's the proliferation of the HMOs in one area, and often without the council even being fully aware because of the current rules. That lack of visibility is very frustrating for our communities who feel changes are happening around them without any voice or oversight. And I have to add that I've visited Netherfield with Councillor Hunt and seen firsthand some of the issues that can arise when concentrations become too high, as has already been said. And it's why I strongly believe the council must act where it can. I also want to say honestly, and this has been raised with me, that people often feel these developments are disproportionately affecting working class areas, and whether that perception is right or wrong, it feeds a sense that residents are not supported and that raising concerns is somehow seen as unreasonable. That should never be the case. Cabinet is right to require evidence before considering an Article 4 direction. We've heard much about the evidence. I will add that We are not fully aware of where all the HMOs are, and I do have to ask how robust can that evidence really be, not just here in Gedling, but anywhere that this is an issue. That's not the council's fault, but that's current planning law as has already been set out. I am pleased. I've been speaking with officers about the problems Councillor Barnes and I are facing in Daybrook, and we've been given an opportunity to discuss some local intelligence with the council so that if further action is taken in the future, it's based on a clearer and more accurate picture, and I would urge members to do the same if they're having problems in their wards. I wholeheartedly support the call on the government to change planning law for the removal of permitted development rights in these cases so that all HMOs get the same scrutiny that all other developments or changes of use receive. And as an elected representative, we do have a duty, representatives, we all have a duty to ensure residents are properly housed in quality homes and that we continue to support the provision of affordable family housing. We also have a responsibility to protect the character and well-being of our communities. So for those reasons, I fully support the motion, and I want to thank Councillor Hunt for bringing the motion forward and Councillor Barnes for seconding this evening. Thank you. So if there's no more comments from members, I'm going to ask Councillor Hunt to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I welcome Councillor Hollingsworth's announcement relating to Ashwell Street, Chandos Street and Beach Avenue. And I would like to assure other Netherfield residents that we'll be keeping a close eye on numbers with their help, particularly on Bourne Street and Forrester Street. I'd like to thank everybody else for their contribution to this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will move to the vote. Councillor Hunt, did you ask for a named vote earlier? No? Okay. So we'll move to the vote then. All those in favour, please show. Anyone against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Thank you to everyone for attending the meeting this evening. Just before we close, Councillor Barnes and myself have put on, out of our own funds, some refreshments for members to celebrate Peter's 90th birthday, and you're all welcome to join us in the Mayor's Parlour afterwards. That's the meeting closed. Thank you.
Members of the Council and members of the public, please be upstanding for the worshipful, the Mayor of Gedling.